Well, hello, thank you for joining me today again on the Church History Trail. And we're continuing here in Carrickfergus in St Nicholas Church. And we're on part 2. And again, we've got Julie here. And hello, Julie. And Julie's going to tell us a wee bit more about the history of the church.
Okay, so this little window here is known as the leper window. And it's believed that lepers would have gathered there to receive sacrament, listen to the services, maybe even beg for alms as well. Now, we don't know how true that actually is, but we do know that there was a leper hospital here in Carrickfergus, St Bride's. It was supposed to have healing waters. And it's a reminder as well that leprosy was prevalent here in Ireland. You think of it as being something in far off countries, but it was always here. Also, when you look at the window as well, compared to the other windows in the church, it's lower set and it's the only one that slopes outwards. The rest of the ones all slope inwards as well.
And am I correct in saying that the leper hospital where the town hall is now? Am I right in saying that? No?
It was out more towards what would now be Sunnylands.
All right, yes.
Which is why there's a street there that's called Bridewell Drive.
Yes.
And that's where it would have come from.
And the
St.
story
Bride's.
also is that that's supposedly, anyway, why King Fergus
Yes.
was here because he heard that they had a cure for leprosy, and he ended up drowning, supposedly, on the rocks there where the castle now stands.
Mm-hmm. And that's where we get the name of the town from as well. Carrickfergus.
Carrickfergus,
the
very
Rock
good.
of Fergus.
Yes, the Rock of Fergus. Is that what Carrickfergus means?
Yes.
Oh, very good. The Rock of
Over
Fergus.
the year, there's been various alternatives to it. I think it started off as Cragfergus.
Yes.
But that's where it all derives from.
Very
So
good.
The meaning of it. And then talking of people, having shipwrecks and sea accidents, down on the floor here we have a plaque in remembrance of William Crispin.
Yes.
So he was on board a ship out in Belfast Lough and he took ill and died. And they brought him ashore and buried him here inside the church. So they must have thought an incredible amount of him to actually go to the trouble of bringing him into the church. Because most people, if you die at sea, you're buried at sea.
Yes.
But the commander of the ship was a certain William Penn, whose son went on to found Pennsylvania. So
very good.
There's our American connection.
So you have a connection not only with America, but you also have a connection here with William Penn then.
Yes, as well.
And he founded Pennsylvania.
His son founded Pennsylvania.
Or his son,
yes.
sorry, founded Pennsylvania. Very good.
So in later years, one of William Crispin's descendants visited the church, wanted a more befitting memorial to his ancestor. And so up in the Chichester Isle here, we have the St Andrew's window. And beneath it, there is a brass plaque with an extract taken directly from the ship's log, just detailing about exactly what happened, about William dying. So 1645, 8th of April, about 3 o'clock in the morning, our master William Crispin departed off this world. 9th of Wednesday, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we carried our master ashore and gave him 10 pieces of ordnance, and we buried him in the chancel in the church of Carrickfergus. So
Fantastic.
That's lifted directly from.
And that's from
ship's log.
1645 then?
Yeah.
8th of April. That's incredible. And is this window then, this is the actual window here
This
then?
is the window then. So this is the St Andrew window, but it's in the memory of William Crispin, and it was put in place by a Mr. Jackson Crispin.
Oh, very good.
So we're up in the Chichester Isle now.
Yes.
This was one of the later additions to the church.
Uh-huh.
When it was first built, it wasn't always in the cruciform shape that we see now. Originally, it would have been more cathedral style. You would have had various cloisters and side chapels. The ceiling was lower as well, and the building was a bit wider. But when Sir Arthur Chichester came to the town, the church itself was in a bad state of disrepair, and he wanted somewhere for his family to be able to come and worship. So he did a lot of restoration in the church, and part of it was adding this aisle onto the church as well.
So it was Chichester who added this then, was
Yes.
it? Arthur
so
Chichester?
This is why it's known as the Chichester Isle. You'll also hear people refer to it as the Donegal Isle as well, because
Yes.
obviously the subsequent members of the family became the Earls of Donegal.
One thing I've learned about my church history trails is Arthur Chichester and the Chichesters is really, they own some vast amount of land.
Oh yes. Well, I mean, after they left Carrick, they built up Belfast as well.
Yeah. So this is the actual monument.
This is the memorial.
Is this where they're buried? Do you know?
They're buried underneath us.
Oh,
so
my
it's
goodness.
one of the reasons why this aisle is higher up than the rest of the church. At one time, you couldn't have accessed it from the church. They had their own access.
Yes,
So they
I've
would
noticed
come
that
in.
too about different
Yes, this was
churches.
pretty much their private chapel.
Yeah.
But as well as the family crypt being underneath, it also gave Sir Arthur a very good view of who was here at church and who wasn't.
Yes.
And it also meant that even when the minister was preaching, there was nobody higher than Sir Arthur other than God.
Yes.
Nobody up between him.
And probably, I would say, Buckingham Palace, the royal family, don't come in through the normal. I would say they probably
They
have their
own entrances
entrance.
as well.
I'll give the wee viewers a wee look at this. This is fantastic. And then I think this is this of John, the bottom gentleman,
John, yes.
and he was a brother of
He
Arthur,
was the brother, yes.
and he was killed in 15 something.
Yes, he was ambushed
Wasn't he?
out towards Glen, so he had been stationed at the castle. Now, depending on which version of events you listen to, it was either a group of local farmers came complaining that Sir John's men were stealing their livestock, or the other story is a bunch of troublemakers looking to cause a bit of trouble. So either way, there was a wee bit of a skirmish, and then the fellas were all chased off with John and his men in hot pursuit. And then out near a little village, Glen, just outside Larne, he was ambushed, and there his head and body parted company.
Oh my goodness.
So he has his head back on him now, but that's not how he ended.
Now,
his-
I'm going to
his
have.
days.
I assume this is Sir Arthur and his wife
Sir
here.
Arthur and his wife, between them is
Yes,
their
that's-
baby son.
that's what I was gonna
who
ask you.
was also called Arthur. He was their only child, and he died as a baby. He only lived a
Ah,
few months.
yes. So that's why he's there then, the wee
So
baby.
that's why he's there.
Yes, very good. That's a fantastic monument to the Arthur or to the Chichester family, isn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So various members of the family are buried in the crypt.
So
underneath
that's
this.
fantastic that they're actually buried here then.
Yes.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. So where next then? There's that many things in here you don't know where to go next.
Well, this is it. And every time you come in, you quite often find that you spot something that you haven't noticed before. Just watch yourself. With
Oh
the
yes.
sensor.
This reminds me, to be honest, of Dublin. The cathedral in Dublin.
Right.
There's that much in Dublin as well.
Yes.
And I'm hopefully going down there next week actually.
Right. So this is the Wills Aisle, and it's sometimes known as the Freeman's Aisle because this is where sort of the important people of the town, the councillors would have had to sit.
Oh, yes.
And even now, when we hold the civic carol service, this is where the councillors come and sit instead of out front and centre.
Yes.
So not only was church attendance compulsory for them, they also had to pay pew rent. And one of the horrible things about pew rent was if you fell on hard times and couldn't keep your rent up, you were taken out to the centre of the church and your seat auctioned off to the highest bidder. So, nothing
That's
too
a-
Christian about that.
That's
attitude.
that's actually caused a split in Methodism, and that's where you actually get your free Methodism now.
Yes.
Because I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he believed that it really affected the poor and they couldn't pay for.
Very much so. Because that's part of the reason why, we had the gallery built onto the church as well, so that the
Yes.
soldiers of the town would have somewhere to sit. Because Carrick was always a garrison town
Yes.
as well. Thankfully now those days are gone and it's bums that keep seats, not money.
What about this here then? I see this is 1694.
Yes, so this is a memorial to Andrew Gardner. And we have a memorial on the wall to the family as well. So they donated the ornamental sword and mace to the town. And I've also been told that the same designs were used for the ones that are now in the Houses of Parliament. Now, how true that is, I'm not sure, but that's just what I've been told. And our cherubs underneath are quite unusual in that they have fully formed teeth, and you can actually put your finger in your mouth and you will feel it.
Well, Julie, I'm going to have to do that. So long as you can guarantee me that they won't bite.
Only if you tell lies.
Well, I better not tell any lies then. I've never seen this in any church before, Julie, so this is a first for me. And have the three of them got teeth then?
Yes, it blows my mind how the sculptor would even.
Oh my goodness,
That's
you can
fantastic.
actually feel their teeth.
Yes.
That is wild. That is so unique. And did you say they're cherubs?
Cherubs, yes.
Yes, that is. Now, I noticed that is in Latin, I would assume, Julie.
Yes, it is an old version of Latin. We have a translation of it because we had a visitor that was able to provide us with a translation. So it's near this monument lies Andrew Gardner, of respected stock, a constant worshipper of God, a great lover of his country, strong in adversity, trusting in God, dear to all. He cared for his surviving 2 sons, John and Robert, and 4 daughters, Margaret, Sarah, Anna and Elizabeth, and for his only wife, grieving deeply, who shared their mutual affection and deep heartfelt love. Having long suffered from serious illness, he forsook all earthly troubles to gaze on heaven. He completed his 66th year and died a holy, gentle and peaceful death on the 4th of February 1682. His younger son Robert, an arms bearer of London, saw to the erection of this monument in loving memory of his father in the year of our deliverance in Christ, 1713.
1713, very good. And did you say this is his grave here then, Julie?
Yes, so this marks his grave.
Very good. Can you read that out to us, or if you can see it?
If I can see it. Here lieth the body of Andrew Gardner Burgess, who departed this life 4th of February 1682. Also here lieth that Joan, it looks like, his wife,
Joan,
who was buried 18th of March 1694.
My goodness, 1682, folks, 1694. This is a 17th century grave that you're looking at here, and headstone. My goodness, absolutely fantastic, Julie.
We have, there's just so much that we have. At the back here, this little alcove, you'll notice, is what remains of a piscina. So originally you would have...
Hold on now, a piscina, what is a piscina?
A piscina. So it was used to wash the communion vessels.
Yes.
So it would have you would have had like a bowl shape coming from the wall.
Oh yes, yes.
And that would have been used there. And you can see that there's a little tiny hole for the water to drain away. Now if you go to the outside of the building, you'll not find a drain for that. Back then, something we might scoff a bit at now, but people were really superstitious and they were worried about witches getting hold of anything connected to the sacrament and using it to attack the church.
Yes.
But of course they wouldn't come into the church for it. So the piscina drained straight down underneath the ground, so everything was still contained within the church walls.
Yes.
And the church therefore was protected.
And I done a wee video on Grey Abbey.
Yes.
And I seen what I think is one of those protruding from the wall. Now, I thought it was a baptismal font because it was like semicircled.
Yes.
But it could actually have been one of those.
Yeah.
So
and
it could have.
Depending on the age of the church as well, because I know some churches you would have the wee thing outside where the holy water that would have been kept in as well for people to bless themselves. I believe Gloucester Cathedral has another example of one as well.
Yeah, because I don't think I've ever heard of that term before, Julie. I have to say this is the first. Well, thank you very much. And what we'll do, folks, was we'll wrap this wee video up here. But join us for part 3 for the third and final instalment. God bless.